Good morning, everybody. Outside on this beautiful Sunday morning. It's real cold this morning. That's why I got my hat on my head. Temperature's done a complete 180 since yesterday, and that's kind of bad for the virus because it needs the heat. Heat kills it, from what I've been researching and looking into. So these cooler temperatures may cause it to even spread even more. But not gonna get into that. I'm not an expert on that type of stuff. I stick to what God has given me. I let the experts be the experts. Um, what I really just want to talk about this morning is the class of 2020 because they've been heavy on my heart the last few days. And chosen generations always have to follow a different manuscript than everybody else. Every now and then, when things start going a certain way in the world, God has to change things, and He changes things for a generation because that generation is chosen to be the leaders of something totally new. When the world starts going in an entirely different generation, God will pick out a generation. When the world starts going in a entirely different direction, He will pick out a generation and He will cause them to do things totally different. Joshua 3. In Joshua 3, they were crossing the Jordan. Now, crossing the Jordan is a kind of like crossing the Red Sea. Y'all remember when they crossed the Red Sea, when after they came out of Egypt and Moses held up his rod, and the Red Sea parted and all that good stuff, and they crossed over to the other side. Well, this is a smaller version of it. They came to the Jordan. Now, this time when they came to the Jordan, God did it a little bit differently than He did when they crossed the Red Sea, because when they crossed the Red Sea, that generation that was with Moses, they were in a rush because Pharaoh and the Egyptians were behind them. So they rushed through to the other side, and they didn't have any evidence that they did it. There were no smartphones. Nobody took pictures. It wasn't documented. So what happened was, as generations and generations after them were being born, the people would hear the stories about the crossing of the Red Sea, and grandma would talk about it, and everybody, man, when we came out of Egypt and Moses held up that rod, everybody would talk about it. But the generations that were being born that didn't have any proof were like, man, whatever. Nobody saw it. So it got pretty much erased from the memories of the people because it was just a wise tale. Now, this time when they were about to cross the Jordan, God says He's going to do things a little bit differently. So when they went out into the middle of the Jordan, after God caused the waters to be held back, He allowed them to gather up some stones. Now, He allowed them to gather up stones from the middle of the water. The water was pushed to the back, but He allowed them to gather stones from the middle of where the water was. These stones that could only be found underwater. And when they got to the other side, they took the stones and they erected an altar. Now, the reason this is important is because anybody that would come along and see these stones, they would know that the stones came from the middle of the water, out of the Jordan. So unless they had some scuba diving gear, people could go down there and get the stones, anybody that came through would have proof that this generation was different. This generation did something that no other generation before them, or probably no other generation after them, would do. 2020, you're a chosen generation. Most of you are probably 18 or will be 18 this year. So let's do some math. 2020 minus 18. So most of you were probably born in what? 2002. 22. 2020, 2002. 18, add 2 more to it, you get 20 all over again. Nothing is by coincidence. Nothing is by coincidence. It's all intentional. It's all on purpose. God knows just what He's doing with you guys. Stay encouraged. Use this time wisely. Self-reflect. Think about what it is that God wants you to do. Think about what it is that you're being called and being led to do, because I can promise you, you are a chosen generation. God knows exactly what He's doing. 2020, keep your head up. Love y'all, and everything will be all right.